Good. A good Erev Shabbos to all. It's very exciting. I have a granddaughter who's getting married this week. The offer of the Shabbos, the Simcha should be with Simcha. All Klal Yisrael, we should all say Simchas. This COVID should end, and we should all be Zeicha next year to be in Yerushalayim HaKodesh, Ben Heirov, learning Torah together. Okay, we had yesterday an interesting Gemara. We had a Chenvani. This Chenvani was given money by a Jew to go ahead and buy wine for him, and then use that wine to go ahead and be mishtatef in a sheet of mavois. We said it doesn't work because Maos midrabana is not kaina. It doesn't work. So therefore, whatever he buys for him is not his because he didn't make a kinyan on it. He has to be mashach. He has to go ahead and pull it into his rishus, and he didn't. That okay. Therefore, when he made the shituf, we're told by Rashi he wasn't soimich on what he wasn't soimich that this chenvani is going to make it. He thought his money is going to make it for him. He didn't make the chenvani his shliach. If he would have said arvli, he said zachali by going ahead and buying me something. So therefore, since he didn't make him a shliach, it's the money that's supposed to do the job. But the money can't do the job because why? Because the money is not kaina the yayin for him, and therefore he's not soimich das, and therefore it's not smichas das. Rabbi Yehuda apparently Rabbi Yehuda disagreed. Rabbi Yehuda said that only by Erev Tchumen do you need das. Mashenkin Erev Chatzeres, which is the Schia Zachal Mishlei Befanov, therefore you would not need das. And therefore, apparently, he's arguing. And that's exactly what Shmuel says. Let's begin the Gemara on Pei Aleph on the base. Amar Rabbi Yehuda, B'medav Mamurim, we're parallel to the Tais for Shema Yom HaChitcha. Amar Rabbi Yehuda, Amar Shmuel Allah, Rabbi Yehuda. Obviously, Rabbi Yehuda is Shmuel's holding. Rabbi Yehuda argues on the Chachamim that Chachamim say you do need das by Erev Tchumen. In this case, Shitum voice is the Erev Chatzeros or Shitum voice. They're the same. So, and Rabbi Yehuda says you don't. Below Od, Kol Makom Shoshana Rabbi Yehuda be'Eruvin. Anytime you learn Rabbi Yehuda be'Eruvin, Allah K'mois Allah is like him. Amal Rav Chana Bagdatola Rabbi Yehuda Meshmul Afil ben Mavui Shenitlu Karasa Yolech on Shabbos. A Mavui lost its kaira, its beam, its tap, or its lechi, its side post. Or even Shabbos with the Allah be that can carry in there. It says the Gemara Amalei be'Eruvin Amarti. I said be'Eruvin the Allah is like Rabbi Yehuda. Amarti Lecha. V'lo b'mechitzos. In other words, the din of mechitzos is not a din in Eruvin. Amalei Ravacha b'rei the Rabbi Ravashi. Allah. Okay. When Shmuel said that Allah is like Rabbi Yehuda, you can always inform Mechlal. There must be someone else who argues that it was necessary for Shmuel to say that Allah is not like him, but it's like him. Says the Gemara, the Rav Ravashi, Halacha Mechal de Pligi. I v'Rami Yeshua ben Levi. Kalmacham Sha'amar Rabbi Yehuda Emasai Ubameh. If Rabbi Yehuda appears in the Mishnah, he says Emasai when, or the Midamar Mamurim. When are we talking? The Mishnah saying Eina El Lefarish Divrei Chachamim. He's coming to explain the words of the Chachamim right before him. So if you look at the top of the page, 2 lines down, Rabbi Yehuda v'Medamar Mamurim be'Erev Tchumen. In other words, since Rabbi Yehuda used the words B'meh, like Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, he's not arguing on the Tanakama, he's explaining the Tanakama. So how can Shmuel say the halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda? There's no argument that you would have to say the halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda. Fred the Gemara back for us 4 lines to the bottom, like Pligi. Vanan Tanan, the Tosef Aleim, if they had an extra diurim in the Mavoi, people joined. And then what do? Moisif, you add on full the Mizakeh, if it's Sarach idea. But 1 second, what do you mean Sarach idea? You have to let them know. According to you, Rabbi Yehuda, and the Chachamim, if everyone says by Erev Hatzeros or Shitim voice, you don't need das. If Rabbi Yehuda is explaining the Chachamim, that means you don't need das. So how do you explain the Mishnah that says if the Urim join the Shitim voice, you do need das? It says Hasam, no. Over there it's different. Hasam, they're joining, but it's a different type of chatzar. It could be speaking the chatzar shebein shnei muvois. It's a chatzar in the middle. You got 2 muvois on the side of the chatzar. You don't know which way he's going to go. So by going ahead and doing him, of course you need midas, because you have to ascertain which way he's going. Because if he wants to go to one and not the other, it's not a schus anymore. So in the mela, therefore, it's necessary. But in a normal case where it's only one mavui and you know he wants to be mishtatif, and then everyone holds you don't need das, and therefore Rabbi Yehuda is explaining the chachamim. This din of Mitaisa was speaking in a scenario where you might be a choiv because he may want to go out of one mavui, not the other mavui. The mela, therefore, the halacha is that there is no argument, according to Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, between Shmuel and Rabbi Yehuda. Fred Gemara, Omer Rav Shizvi, Omer Rav Chisda, Zaysay Meres, you mean to say, Chalukin love Chaveroi, Al Reb Yehuda. They do argue. So how can you Yeshua ben Levi say? They don't argue. You see, they do argue. So we have on one hand, we have Shmuel saying they argue. On the other hand, we have Shmuel and Levi. They're not arguing. We're asking from Yeshua ben Levi on Shmuel. So all of you should have said, 1 second, Rabbi Stern. Shmuel is an Amira. Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi is an Amira. You can ask for a Tana on an Amira, but another Amira doesn't lose any sleep about it. This is my opinion. This is your opinion. Fred Gemara says Gemara. Ela Gavra Amid Aleph Gavra Karamis. You're going ahead and asking from one person, Shmuel, Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi on Gavra on Shmuel. Masava Pligi. Shmuel holds that there's an argument that the Chacham say that what you need das, and Yehuda says you don't need das. Umasava, and Rabbi Yehuda says no. Rabbi Yehuda is explaining the words of the Chachamim, and by Eruv Chatzeiros and Shitufim voice, you do not need das. You only need das by Eruv Techumim. Gufa, Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. Now going back to analyze Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi's din, that any time it says in the Mishnah Emasai Ubameh, it comes to explain. It doesn't come to what to argue. He says. Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, Kol Makom Shomer Rabbi Yehuda Emasai, the lashon of Emasai Ubameh V'Devar Mamurim b'Mishnah Seinu Enel Lefarish Dirich Chachamim. Rabbi Yochanan Amar Emasai. The word Emasai is Lefarish, Ubameh Lechalek. So notice it says Ubameh, it comes to argue. The Emasai Lefarish, who I'm going to show you a Mishnah where apparently the Emasai is the Mechalek. Now we all know that there's a din of what of Eidus in the Torah. Eidus is an unbelievable thing. Al Pishnai made him Yakum Dover. If two Eidim tell you it's daytime and it's nighttime, it's daytime. That's the koyach we give. We'll kill people based upon two Eidim. It's the emunus of two Eidim. Now people, that's all based upon the emunus. That's why you need Eidim Sheyach Lazima to go ahead and be able to amaze them, to strengthen them, because they have tremendous koyach. So here's the question. What happens if a person does something that takes away from the emunus? It could be their pasal Eidus. So under discussion is this Mishnah in Sanhedrin, and it says the following. These are people who are pasal Eidus. Hamasachik bekuvya, people who play with dice. Malva beribis, people who would lend money for usury, interest. Umafrichi yoinim, people who raise pigeons, gamblers. V'soife shmita, shvius, and people who would go ahead and use shvius food, which is la'ochla, v'loy l'schaira. You should eat it and not go ahead and use it for business. So all these people are obviously doing things that are questionable when it comes to monetary matters. So these people are pasal Eidus. That's what it says. But Amar Rabbi Yehuda, a Masai, again, an a Masai, according to Rabbi Yochanan, it means you're coming to explain. A Masai, bisman she'en lo umnas elahi. All they do, they're professional gamblers. There's the guy in Jeopardy, who was a professional gambler. I forgot his name. Aval yesh lo umnis shloihi. But how is that kosher? If they have another umnis, let's say on the side, they're a radio host, like a famous radio host who was an unbelievable gambler, then what? Then they are believed. I would not believe about him, but anyway, so apparently now we're explaining when it says ve'elu pasal le'edis, these people, Masachei b'kuvya malva beribis, so on and mafricha yivanim, so on, these people, all these cases. That's only, and what's the explanation? Only when they do that for a living. If they have another living, then they're not pasal. So apparently, using our rule of thumb, anytime it says Amasai, it would be that that Amasai is coming to explain the words of the Tanakama. It's not coming to argue in the Tanakama, it's coming to explain the Tanakama. However, the Tanya Labebraisa, the Chachamim Maimim, and the Chachamim, the Havamina now is the Tanakama, Bein She'en Lo Umnis Elahi, whether they only do is gamble, Bein Sheyesh Lo Umnis Shloihi, whether they're barbers or something else, then how is that possible? So l'chayra, if the Chachamim are the Tanakama, and Rabbi Yehuda is coming to explain, and he says that what Amasai, right? And you tell me Amasai is an explanation. You see, it's not an explanation. You see, he's arguing because the Tanakama is saying the following: whether they do it for a living or they don't do it for a living, it's possible. Says Rabbi Yehuda, no, only when they do it for a living. And it says Amasai. So you see, Amasai is not Lefarish. Amasai is what? Is to argue. No, how would we change it? It says no. Hahi the Rabbi Yehuda. Einachinami. In our Mishnah, the Mishnah in Sanhedrin, Rabbi Yehuda is explaining the Chachamim. Says the Chachamim, Mesachi b'kuvya pasal Eidus. Amasai Rabbi Yehuda, if he does it for a living. And that's the explanation, because Amasai is the explanation. You have a price that it says it doesn't make a difference, but he does it for a living, he doesn't. That's a separate price. That's Reb Tarfon. That's Reb Tarfon. Reb Tarfon, that scenario is what would hold that he's not believed. Right. Ahid Reb Yehuda Reb Tarfon. It's Reb Yehuda name Reb Tarfon. The Tanya. Reb Yehuda Mishum Reb Tarfon. Reb Yehuda says what in the name of Tarfon. Let's see Rashi on this. Here's the scenario. Two people are sitting. They see a guy coming. How many nazir? She said nazir. I'm a nazir. This guy is a nazir. How many nazir? She ain't said nazir. In other words, they're basically saying the nichnas l'safik. One of them is going to be an I'm a nazir if he's a nazir. I'm a nazir if he's not a nazir, right? So one of them is going to be a nazir, right? If he's a nazir, the first guy's a nazir. If he's not a nazir, the second guy's a nazir. That's what you would say. Says the Gemara, no. Ein echem mehem nazir. Neither one. Lefisha ein nazirus el hafla. Ish ki yafli linda neded nazir lahazal Hashem. It says ish ki yafli, an expression, meaning at the time you expressed it, it must be clear that there's a chalois at that time. Since at the time of the expression, you didn't know, because you didn't know what the guy was, he's coming, and you didn't know if you were a nazir or not, the middle you're not a nazir. Almo kivin the misafkale, e nazir, eloi nazir, who? Loi mishab and nafshe. The guy really doesn't mean it, because he doesn't know what he is. Hachanami, by gambling, kivin lo yoda ikoni, eloi koni, he doesn't know if is he coin or not, loi gomru makna. So therefore, that's the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda, why he's puzzled, whether he does it for a Tarfon, but he doesn't do it. But in Achinami, our rule of Rabbi Shua Levi's rule that anytime it says Rabbi Yehuda a Messiah or Bamer is in fact to explain, as the Rabbi Yehuda is explaining the Shita of the Chum, Elu Psulin, when are they puzzled? If only if they do it for a living. Hajjalach Haloin, Hajjalach Haloin, Hajjalach Haloin. Kesha Mishtafim B'Tchumen. How do you make a Shita in the Tchumen? How do we go a Shita? You're going to make an Erev Tchumen, and let's say you're going to go. Let's say your city wants to go in that direction. So what do? You leave a barrel, and say, this is for all the people of my city. Anyone who has to go to be menachem oval. Go, in other words, they need to go outside of Tchum to menachem oval, or to for simchas kalachas and bekala. They go, right? In other words, pashtus is mashma. The only time you use an erev tchumim is for the Devar Mitzvah. I'll extend this direction, lose that direction, because I have to go to the Devar Mitzvah in that direction. And anyone is makabel miyayoim muta. However, if the makabel when it gets dark, asa shema arvi mishetechshach. An erev has to be miyayoim. It has to be during the day. Ben hashmashis at least, right? And at Ben hashmashis is when the chalois is. So if the people makabel the erev when it was still daytime, it's a good erev. If the nighttime, we know this already from previous Gemaras, then it's not. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Yosef, Eima Arvin Elo Devar Mitzvah. You can only make an erev for Devar Mitzvah. In other words, mashma, just tamazah, you can't. Fred Gemara, Mike mashma, what is Rabbi Yosef's chiddush? Apparently, it's an off on a Mishnah. Our Mishnah seems to state it explicitly. Tanina l'chol, we learned it. L'chol mishiyelech lebeis ha'avel, oy lebeis ha'mishnah. So therefore, it's mashma that the only reason you can do it is for those reasons. Says Gemara, no. Ma'odatem, I would have thought, why would a person want to? Because he has a reason to, meaning to go for a wedding or to go to menachem oval. But if he didn't have a reason, he still could do it. It's just telling us, why would a person want to go ahead and leave the city in that direction? Because he has a reason, but not to say dafka mitzvah. It can be any reason. That would be a normal reason. Kamashma, no, that's dafka that reason, not another reason. The Mishnah said, the chol misha kibul olav miboy yoim, right? Anyone who's makabel miboy yoim, the Kabbalah has to be miboy yoim, then it's good. Mishet techshach, however, afterwards, it's no good. So let's get this straight. I know apparently this guy is putting an Erev Chatzeros there. He's got Erev Tchum. He's a really good guy. He's going to the Tchum and he's putting it over there. I haven't decided yet whether I want to use it or not. So if I decide before Shabbos, I could use it. If I decide after Shabbos, I can't use it. Why don't we say Breira? Why don't we say when I decide on Shabbos I want to use it, that it's Huvra Hadavala Mafreya, it's clarified retroactively that I wanted to use that Tchum. So This apparently would be a raya to ein breira. Now it seems to be that we want to say breira over here. We want breira to work, right? We want to say breira would work. Tosfos says shema mina ein breira. It's not mistaber to say tchum d'rabbanan ein breira. In other words, what's the big kasha? So ein breira, ein nachinami. We pass ein breira. The Gemara is asking a kasha ein breira, ein nachinami, ein breira. So Tosfos says no. The mistaber by Eruvin is to say yesh breira. Since it's the rabbanon in nature, we want to say breira. So when we have a raya ein breira, it's taka kasha. Oh, by get ein breira for sure, right? That's not a kasha. The rice is ein breira. But by Eruvin, which is the rabbanon, which we saw earlier in the Masechta, you have your Rebbe coming over here, Rebbe coming over here. I'll decide which one I go to. We allow that. So l'chayra, we want to say what breira. So now we have a kasha. Why over here is it ein breira? Just because he decided on Shabbos. If we say yesh breira, the decision on Shabbos should work retroactively to Friday afternoon or bein hashmashos. Okay, let's see the kasha inside. The chol shekibu lo mibayoyim shmami no ein breira. We see over here ein breira. The yesh breira, because if you hold yesh breira, tiglin muslim afayed and mibayoyim yom happy nichalei. It should be megala that retroactively that he was happy on Friday. Amar Ravashi, no, you have no raya. Ken zayin yesh breira. What are we speaking about over here? Don't read it as shekibu lo mibayoyim. Not that he was makabel, but he was informed about it. Or he wasn't informed about it. Everyone would be masking if he wasn't informed about it. It doesn't go into the shaila of breira. I'll give you an example. We introduced the shaila of breira by getting, right? The guy says, I have two wives, they have the same name. Write the get, and I'll decide which one. Good. Then the shaila is breira. Do we say huvra adav mafreya that the get was written the shema for this woman? Let's say the guy didn't know that Seifa was writing a get. He shows up and then the get is written in his name. It's not a shaila breira. You won't say huvra dovla mafreya because you never told him to do it. So memela over here as well. If he didn't know there was an eruv there in the first place, you don't say, oh, when he finds out afterwards it's huvra hadovla mafreya. Huvra dovla means an action took place on Erev Shabbos. I'll decide at a later time what that action impacts me. If I don't know about that action, it's not a shaila breira or not. So Mamela, that's Pshat in the Mishnah. When the Mishnah said over here, Kol Misha Yelech Lebeis Kol Shekibel Olav Mivayoyim, it doesn't mean Kibel Olav. Anyone who knew about him Mivayoyim, then Mutter Mishatech Shach. But Mishatech Shach, if he only found out about it afterwards when it got dark, then no, then it doesn't work. Okay, that would end this whole Suga Breyer. Amravasi, a new din, Cotton Ben Sheish, a cotton that's 6 years old. He's in his 6th year. Yoitza be'erev imay. He doesn't need to make his own erev tchumim. He can be yoitza with the erev of his mother. Mesivei, I'll show you that a cotton at that age cannot. Cotton shetzarach the imay, a cotton that needs his mother. Yoitza be'erev imay can go ahead and be yoitza with the erev tchumim of his mother. Ushein tzarach the imay, and if he doesn't, ein yoitza be'erev imay. V'tran nami gai b'sukkah, the similar concept by sukkah. Ki hagavna, cotton shein tzarach the imay. Chayiv the sukkah. A cotton that does not need his mother is chayiv chinuch the rabbanon in the sukkah. V'avina we asked, ve'ez the cotton shein tzarach le'imoy. How do you classify and identify somebody who is a cotton? Amad Rabbi Yanai says, Rabbi Yanai, kol shenifna ve'ini mekan chasei. He's able to excuse me. He's able to wipe himself. Rav Shimon Lakish Aimer, kol shenir. He wakes up. Ve'ina kari ima. He doesn't call mommy. He wakes up. He doesn't call mommy. Fred Gemara, Ima stop gedaitach, gedolim nami kari. Gedolim meaning older children who certainly aren't ketanim, wake up and say mami. It's a right from here that what? A man always needs his mother. Ella, he wakes up, Ella Ema, Kol Shanira Mishnah Snaya, he wakes up, the Eina Korea, Ima. In other words, he's not going to stop. Ima. Anyone who doesn't do that or wake up and not do that is a cotton chain surf the Ima. Because as long as he's calling his mother, he's Megali, he needs his mother. Once he stops, he shows he doesn't need his mother. So we have Machlokes. Rabbi Yanai says, wipe, and Shimon Lakish says what? And anyone who wakes up and doesn't say Ima. Vikama, and how old is that? Kibar Abu Kamesh, depending on the individual kid, like a 4-year-old or a 5-year-old. If he's a little more mature, it's 4. If he's less mature, it's 5. But it's not 6. So we have a kasha. How could you go ahead and say that it was 6? Here you see it's 5. So a few terutzim. Amid base. Amar Rabbi Yeshua Berei de Rav Idi, Ki ka'amar Ravasi, when the Ravasi say, it has to be 6. Ki going she'iru alav. When does Rav Ashi say, Rav Asi, when does Rav Asi, when does Rav Asi say that a ben 6 and not 4 or 5? Ki going she'ir v'lov aviv l'tzafain. His father made an heir to the north of the city. V'imar l'darim, and his mother made it to the south of the city. Da'afilu bar sheish, even when he's 6 years old, nami b'tzafsa de'ima nichale. Says Rashi, Rav Yeshua, vade kida armit, like you said by Sukkah, then hey, eini yotza at sheyarav v'lov. He has to make his own erev. Ravasi nami b'she'irav imoy alav kamar. And Ravasi says his mother made it for him. Ukamash malon, then irim alav ovid l'urach acheres. And in other words, his mother made it for him. So his mother made it for him, his father made it for him. He's going to go with his mother, even when he's 6 years old, because tzafsadim and nichale, he's much happier being in the presence of his mother than his father. But 4 or 5 would work also. Again, 4 or 5 in a normal scenario, but meaning if his mother's making 1, it won't work. But since the mother, you have the father and the mother making, you're going to go with the mother. Meisavei, we're going to ask on this teretz, Katan shetzarach le'imai, yoitza be'eruvay imai ad ben sheish. A cotton that needs his mother can be yoitza ad ben sheish, and he doesn't have to make his own. And you just said, Rav Yeshua, you said 4 or 5. Tiyufta Rav Yeshua ben Arvidi, Tiyufta. You said 4 or 5. I have an often open upslug. It says 6. Lema have Tiyufta Ravasi. Let's say it's an upslug to Ravashi who said up until 6, but not including 6. And here it means including. Ravasi ad vad bechlal. I didn't mean up till 6. I meant ad until 6. Ve'ad bechlal, and including 6. So I'm in conjunction with this brisa. I the Amoyer Ravasi, I'm in conjunction with the brisa. So Rishur Ben Yidi, who said 4 or 5 is upslug. Ravasi is in conjunction. And let me have it to you to the Rav Yanai. Again, Rav Yanai, he's the one who said that he didn't give an age. He said to wife himself, Reish Lakish, that l'chayr that's 4 or 5. Like Hasha, had isyav avu b'masa, had isya avu b'masa. Isya avu b'masa. If the father's in the city, he's going to go ahead and go with the father. He's not going to go with the father. Let's see Rashi on that. It says Rashi, L'shlokish mefarshi gadi sukkah baraboro bachamisha karile ain't serach leimai. V'hachatani yaitze beiruvi imai v'tanya le'el the cotton shein serach leimai any yaitze beiruvi. So we said the difference is hadi isil avu b'masa. V'atinik nichnis yaitze imai. The kid goes in with the father in and out. So loy karile serach leimai mi ben dalid. At that time, when he joins his father, he doesn't need his mother anymore. It's like Yitzchak Avinu. Avram made a party when he stopped nursing. He didn't need his mother anymore. He would have to be 24 months old. Well, in Milo, above Ubraisa, but the lesser lavua the master. The father, he's not there, right? And the father's not there. So very good. When it said 4, that's the father's with him. When it said 6, the father's not with him. So therefore, the only one who's upshlag is Yitzchak Rabbi Yeshua Baridi. Ravasi would answer up until 6 and including 6. And Rabbi Yeshua and Rabbi Yanai, Rish Lakish Rabbi Yanai would say it's in Ukimta. When there's 4 or 5 by Sukkah, when the father's there and the father's going in and out, then 4 or 5 will work. And when the father's not there, then it is 6. Nu Gemara. Tan Rabbanan. Ma'ariv Adam al Yedei Beno Ubito Ketanim. A person can make, al Yedei, Rashi says, Bishvalon, can make for his son, daughter, Ketanim, when they're Ketanim, because they can't make themselves. Al Yedei Avdiv Shechasa Kananim, he can make an Erev Tchumim for his Canaanite servants. They can't make for themselves. Bein L'Daiton, Bein Shloi L'Daiton. Aval Eina Ma'ariv, he can't make an Erev Tchumim, Lo Al Yedei Avdiv Shechasa Ivrim, Jewish slaves. Lo Al Yedei Beno Bito HaGedolim, nor his adult children. Lo Al Yedei Ishtai, nor can he go make for his wife. Elimi Daitom. You need your das over there. Again, over here by Erev Tchumim, fellas, it's not necessarily a schus, because they may want to go in the other direction. So you need their das. As opposed we said earlier, Shitu Muvois, Ner Chatzeres, that is the schus. Tanya Idach, another brisa, similar. Lo Ya'arev Adam Al Yedei Beno Bito HaGedolim. A person should not make an Erev for Beno Bito HaGedolim, Al Yedei Avdiv Shechasa Ivrim, B'lo Yedei Yishtoi, Elami Daiton. Aval Ma'arev Hu Al Yedei Avdiv Shechasa Eknanim, he couldn't make for his Goyish slaves, Al Yedei Beno Bito HaKetanim, his younger children, Bein L'Daiton, Bein Shloi L'Daiton, Mifnei Sheyadon Ki Yado. Their hand is like his hand, therefore he can go ahead and make an Erev for them. Now, the Kulon, meaning the woman, the older children, b'no bita gedolim, and the Amma b'shivcha ba'ivrim, she'irvu, he did make the Eruv, right? The Eruv aleihem Rabban, they made an Eruv, and their master made an Eruv on them. Yoitze b'shel Rabban, then they would go with their master. Chutz min Isha, the Isha, she doesn't go. She has her own Eruv. She can go ahead and make a macha. She can go ahead and complain. Says Gemara, Isha Maishna. Why different than B'nai Gedolim or Gedolim or Jewish slaves? Amarava Isha b'chol dedamila. It doesn't mean dafkaha. It means if they make a macha, whether it's the woman or the older children or the Jewish slaves, the macha is a macha, and therefore what they don't have to go. They can use their own eruv. Amamar, going back over the Brisa, Chutz min Isha mifnei sheichol limchos, because she's able to be meicha mashma. She doesn't have to be aima. The reason why is she verbalized an unhappiness with the Erev. Hastama, if she didn't verbalize an unhappiness, nafka mit the baila, she'd be yoitze with the Baal's Erev. In other words, when she made her own and her husband made it, does she have to verbalize that she's not happy with it? Or Stam will say that she can go ahead and use her own. She doesn't have to verbalize it. It's mashma over here, that she went ahead and verbalized it. But Stam, she did not. Questions the Gemara, Hakatani Resha, Elamidai Tam. When it says only with their das. My love, the Amri in is not say they said yes or no, and therefore you need their verbalization. My Elami Daitam, they kept quiet. But in Hanami, you don't need them to verbalize, I'm not happy. As opposed to they said not. But Kulon She'irvu, the Irvu Alehem, all of them She'irvu, they made an Erev Alehem. Rabban Yoitza B'Shel Rabban, right? So he's saying that a woman, stama would work. She doesn't have to verbalize it. Ha v'kulan she'irvun ve'erev aleim Rabban Yoitza B'Shel Rabban. If they made an erev, right, and they made an erev, and the master made an erev, that the Yoitza with the master's erev. Stama, it's speaking stama in that case. Where they didn't object. The Ketani Chutz min Isha Delay Nafka. So if that's speaking the case stumma where they didn't object, it must be the case of Chutz min Isha speaking also when she didn't object. So you see that you don't need her to verbalize. So Amarava Kivin She'irvun, since she made an erev, Ein Lecha Micha Gadol Mizeh. Since she made an erev, you don't have to verbalize it. The fact that she made an erev shows there's no bigger macha than that. So it comes out that you have to verbalize, but sometimes an action speaks louder than words. Sometimes an action speaks louder than words. Okay, so Bez Hashem, we're holding over there. Says the Mishnah, Kamahu Shi'uroi, what's the shear of Erev Tchumen? It says, Mozen Shei Sudos L'chol Echad Yachad. It will be Mozen Shei Sudos for each person who wants to go ahead and be part of it. By Erev Tchumen, we said, you don't need, by Erev Mechatzeros, we said, Mozen Shei Sudos is the maximum amount of people there. Also, if it's less than 18 people, a groigris for each and every one of them. That was the share by Erev Chatzeros. This is Erev Tchumim. You would need for each individual pashtus. You would need 2 meals for each person that's there. Kamu shurin Mozen Shei Sudos l'chol echav each person. Mizaynai l'choil. What kind of meal? It means a choil meal v'lei Shabbos. Divrei Meya. Reb Meya is of the opinion that people eat more on Shabbos. Therefore, the Suda, we want to be makel and say, you don't need so much. You need a vacha dika meal, a choil dika meal, a weekday meal, rather than a Shabbos meal. Rabbi Yehuda Omer l'Shabbos v'lechol. No, a Shabbos meal, not a choil meal. Rabbi Yehuda is of the opinion also to be makel. He holds, since there's 3 meals on Shabbos, these 3 meals is less food than the 2 meals eaten during the week. So memele, they're both kavana is to be makel. It's really a machloikus, seemingly, which meal is larger. Rameya says the Shabbos meal is larger, therefore you make a choil meal. Rabbi Yehuda says the choil meal is larger, the choil meal, and therefore you make a Shabbos meal for the muzzling of shtei sudas. Okay. And both of them miskabel lahakol, they just said. Now, what exactly is the size of the bread that we use for an Erev? And this has tremendous nafkaminas in halacha. This is the whole Kedei Achilas Pras. This tremendous nafkaminas in halacha. To do this, I'm going to have a chart. Okay, I don't know at which point I stopped recording. I'm going to do this again. Okay, says the Gemara. What's the share of Muslim stay sudois? What's the share of the bread? Rabbi Yochanan Baruch Omer mikika v'pudyin midalid sa b'sela. One loaf of bread, a kikar, can be bought for a pudyin when 4 sa would be purchased with a sela. That's a sela. Now, to understand this, let's see. I think I have a chart over here, and with this chart, maybe we can go ahead and understand this. Okay, fellas. I hope. On the right side over here, we have a sela. On the left side, these are all coins, and on the right side we have flour. We have measurements. A sela. So look. When 4 sa can be purchased for a sela, this sela can buy you 4 sa of flour. Now let's figure out how many pudyonim there are in a sela. So in one sela, there are 4 dinarim. Each dinar has 6 ma. So there are 24 ma. There are 24 ma in the sela. Each ma has 12 pudyon in it. So therefore, there are 48 pudyonim in a sela. There are 48 pudyonim 6 times, right? 12, 24, 36, 48. There are 48. Now, when one pudyon can go ahead and buy a loaf of bread, so if there are, watch, sa, each sa has 6 kav. So in a total of 4 sa, I'm going to have 24 kav. One pudyon, 1/48, will buy 24 or half chatzi kav. So the chatzi kav is half of this, very geschmack. So when I go ahead, I get a loaf of bread that is baked from half a kav. That's the size of the bread that the Torah, that Rabbi Yochanan Baruch says is used for being Mishayir, wasn't Shtei Sudos. Next opinion. Rabbi Shimon Omer, Shtei Yodas L'Kikar, Misholosh L'Kav. 2/3 of a kikar, when 3 loaves of bread will be baked with a kav. You have a kav of flour, it'll bake 3 loaves of bread. 2/3 of 1 loaf will be the share. Let's see it again. Shimon Omer, Shtei Yodas L'Kikar, Misholosh L'Kav. 2/3 of a 1 loaf of bread, when 1 kav, Misholosh L'Kav, when 1 kav will go ahead and make 3 loaves. There it is right in front of you, which would be Chetziav lebeis menuga. Half of that loaf would be lebeis menuga, meaning the time you delay in a house of tsaras for your clothing to get what. And this is the chilas chatzi pras, guys. This is the share. Chatzi lebeis. That's when we say k'dei chilas pras. It's like 3 to 9 minutes. That's the share. The chatzi lebsulas givin. Half of that will be to passel the body. That this aleph, a quarter of it, or a quarter, a half. Half would be for beis meduga. An aleph would be a quarter of the half. That would be, you eat that, eat that tummy to the truma, right? That would be tummy truma if that was tummy to the food. Very geschmack. Says the Gemara, the common muzzin shtei sudois. What's the muzzin of 2 sudois? What's the muzzin of 2 sudois? Amar Yehuda Amarav, Karti Rifta Abraisa. Rabbi Yehuda says it's 2 peasant breads, whatever peasant breads are. Rav Ada Rava Amar, Karti Rifta Nahar Pisa. It's Rav's, that amount of Rav is like, it's the same as 2 loaves of bread from the Har Pisa. Again, I just don't know what that is. Who does your father hold of? Now, we're giving the share, Mazon Shtei Sudos, we're giving it according to Rabbi and Rabbi Yehuda. We know according to Rabbi Yochanan Baruch it is. We know according to Rabbi Shimon what it is. And the Gemara said, how much the Mazon Shtei Sudos? That's the shita of Rabbi Meir, who says that again that the chayil is less than the Shabbos dik. So he wants to know the chayil, how much is that? So we just told them, according to this one, 2 breads of rifta are ichraita, and the other one it's 2 breads of what? Of nahar pepita. And who does he hold like? Says the Gemara, Bar Reb Meir Svirle. He holds like Reb Meir. He holds like Reb Meir, and that's the measurement. Rav Yosef says, I know Nami Reb Meir Svirle. I also hold like Reb Meir. Dik Reb Yehuda, because I hold like Reb Yehuda. Kasha, if I hold like Reb Yehuda, that the that the chol meal is the Shabbos meal is larger than the chol meal. Dikra Yehuda Kasha Hadi Amici. People say on Shabbos it says Rav Chol B'Sima Shchicha. Leave a little room for a tasty dish. In other words, there's always room for Jello. He's saying leave a room for a tasty dish on Shabbos. So obviously, what Rabbi Yehuda, who holds the Shabbos meal, is Mela is going to leave a place because you're eating less on Shabbos. So when they have to say eat less on Shabbos, it must be on Shabbos you eat more. So therefore, I hold Rabbi Yosef, I hold like Rabbi Meir as well. I wish you all a good Shabbos. I'll see you, Be'ez Hashem, on Friday night, on Shabbos night at 8:30.